Hello, it's Debbie again with IGOT Communities, and I'm really excited today because I have my friend Taylor Gray with me.
Hi.
And so I've made this actually before, and may have a video of this, but it's so much more fun to do with a friend. It's fall outside, it's been rainy, drizzly, cold, and earlier today she said, well, I'm hungry, so we're cooking something for us to eat together as friends. It's going to be super healthy for the autoimmune solution. And Taylor actually is a nurse, so she's been really helpful to me to learn things about taking care of yourself. And so I'm just going to kind of teach her how to do this today, and I hope you just follow along, and maybe you'll try this again with a friend that you have. So we're going to start out by, we've got the we're using my grandmother's Dutch oven, and we've got it heating up here. And so Taylor, I'm just going to let you kind of step over here.
Okay.
So she's going to add a tablespoon of avocado oil in.
Okay.
And the next thing, you're going to add the onions and garlic. Now we have a little over a half of an onion in that, and about we have 2 cloves of garlic that we're putting in.
Okay.
So when you you're just going to stir this, and so you can stand on this side of it a little bit, and she's going to just let this saute for about 1 minute till it just gets a little bit soft. Then we're going to add some of the other vegetables. So Taylor, at your house, you told me you and your husband are eating a little healthier now.
Yes.
So why? What brought you to this decision?
Well, I had been introduced to something called the Faster Way to Fat Loss from a couple of friends, and I had just had a baby about a year ago, and I was wanting to get some of the baby weight off, and so I was like, I'm going to try this. And so pretty much it just says if it comes from the ground or if it has a mother, it is fair game to eat. And so I've been trying to incorporate that into our life, and so we have a treat every now and then, but we try to eat healthier overall.
Yeah. So when you were spiralizing the zucchini, I said this is going to be our noodles for our chicken noodle soup. And you said, oh, that's zoodles.
Zoodles, yeah.
Okay, so do you use zoodles?
Yeah, so if you want to do like have a low carb meal, like you can do spaghetti, but instead of, like regular noodles, you can do zoodles, which is zucchini and noodle style. Yeah. So it's really helpful, yeah. So I do eat them quite a bit. I actually ate them last week.
Yeah, awesome. So Taylor and I go back a little bit of a ways. Yeah. We go to the same church together, and we've been on some mission trips. Actually, 3 mission trips, all 3 to Haiti with you.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. So
when do we need to add the rest of this?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's turn that down just a little smidge.
Okay.
You're going to add celery. So we have 2 stalks of celery and a bowl full of carrots. It calls for 3 carrots, diced up or sliced up. So she's going to add those, and that's all we put in right now. Okay. And just stir that around a little bit, mix that up. And you're going to if you put the lid on it, okay, then we'll just let it simmer a little. And what's going to happen there, it helps soften those vegetables up a little faster if you have the lid on it. So when we were in Haiti before on a mission trip, what do you remember about the food in Haiti?
First thing that comes to mind, they had the best food, in my opinion. I think their mangoes were out of this world. Was it mangoes?
It was mangoes.
It was mangoes. It was out of this world.
Right off the tree.
Right off the tree.
Yeah.
I hate to say this, but their mangoes taste very different than our mangoes.
Exactly. Now there's a time of year when you can get mangoes here that they're pretty
maybe really
ripe
similar.
and soft.
Yeah.
But boy, in the winter you don't find those very much.
Right.
But yeah, so the mangoes were great.
Right.
What else do you remember?
So
mangoes are good with the autoimmune solution.
Yeah.
Mangoes are good.
Yeah.
You can have that.
I really, of course, the rice and beans. That's definitely carb heavy. You know, the rice
Okay.
and stuff. That's carb heavy.
So we did feedings in Haiti, and
Yes.
literally at 4 o'clock in the morning, the cooks would come there, and they would start cooking these huge pots of rice and beans, and they would put those in 5-gallon buckets, and we would take those to the schools, which would just meet out in the wild. Schools are very different there than here. They're just open air, and you know, you'd have to be there to really see it and understand it. But we would take food and serve it to the school kids. And so most Haitian children can count on that one meal a day, and it's always rice, white rice, and beans.
Yep.
And it was just really a few beans in there.
Wasn't a whole lot of black beans in there. I don't.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
you say it's black beans?
I guess I always thought it was pinto beans, but I don't know.
It could be a mixture, but
Yeah.
not very many.
So, and that was a great experience.
It was
A humbling experience.
very humbling. Yeah.
To do that. Now, with autoimmune solution diet, rice and oatmeal and wheat, that's not a part of our diet right now because of the inflammation, and that's a little bit unusual for some people who are trying to eat healthy, but that's been eliminated from Dr. Meyer's autoimmune solution diet. Also, we don't eat lentils, and that's beans and peas and the legumes, so that's not a part either of what we eat, but it's what the Haitians eat. And they're very healthy.
Yeah. Yes, I would say they are. Yeah.
Do you remember the plantains?
I thought the plantains were great. I mean, I feel like there wasn't really anything I didn't like when I went.
Okay, what do you remember about the plantains?
Were they fried?
Yes, they were. Actually, they would dip them in a batter
Yeah.
and fry them. And plantains look like bananas. They look a little bigger. They're a little firmer. And you can buy those at the grocery store, and those are on our diet. So we can have plantain chips.
Yeah.
You buy plantains, you slice them like a 1/16 of an inch. You just toss them around in a little bit of olive oil or avocado oil or coconut oil, and then lay them on a thin sheet of parchment, and you bake them until they get crisp. So we can have plantains.
Awesome. Yeah.
You might want to stir that just a little bit.
Smell
And so some of the meat we ate in Haiti was chicken, because they raise their own chicken.
What was something different that we had ate
Goat.
Goat. We had goat.
Yeah.
It was actually good.
It was good.
It was good. Yeah.
But most of everything was meat or goat. They bought some ground beef.
Yeah. Definitely not very often.
Yeah, they bought that at the market.
Yeah.
And because we had spaghetti while we were there.
Yes.
And they had meat
a really
in that.
treat. Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
good treat. I'm trying to think of what else that stood out to me with the food.
Well, I just remember, do you remember the big pots of soup they would make us, and inside it would have plantains, because they use plantains like we use white potatoes.
Yeah,
okay?
that's true.
And they use carrots. They would raise their carrots, but
we ate a soup one time, did we not? Did we not eat a soup?
that's what I'm talking about.
That's what we're talking about.
And when they would cook it, they cooked the whole chicken in it because it had lots of bones in it.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
extremely healthy, because we're going to be adding bone broth to this actual chicken soup.
Yeah.
So, so we had that.
What was your favorite meal? Was there something that you just really liked, or it stood out to you with the food that you were just like, this is great?
The bread that had pineapple in it. Do you remember that? It was a sweet bread, of course, for me. You know me. Until now, bread was my staple.
It was really sweet.
It was really sweet.
I think I remember.
It was in a sheet pan, but they put pineapple in it.
Yeah.
But it was just like a sweet bread.
I do remember that because it was one time. It wasn't for every meal, right? Wasn't it just a one-time thing that we ate?
I think so. Yeah.
And I think Casey really liked it too.
Yeah. So our husbands were with us on this trip. We had the best team that was with us, but yeah, it was a little hard on my husband because he's not always eating the healthiest in the world. He's eating healthy with me now, but he's not always. So, but you know, peanut butter was a big deal in Haiti, and so we would take jars and jars of peanut butter because it was a great protein to give the school kids.
Yeah,
so
a lot of peanut butter, and we even ate a lot of peanut butter.
Yeah, let's toss that around just a little more and see how it's coming. It really smells good already.
It does.
Just the garlic and the onion.
It's looking good. I would say it needs a little bit more time. I would say
More time
yeah.
to be tender.
Yeah,
vegetables.
just a little bit more time.
Let's just give it a little more time.
Yeah,
Because we have a lot to talk about with our memories from Haiti. So, thinking about our travels, and don't you just love exploring the world?
yes.
I mean, God's world is amazing. But what's your favorite? Who's one of your favorite people you remember from Haiti? One of the Haitians.
Well, I feel like I have several people who would agree with me, but his name was Jean-Philippe.
Yes, Jean-Philippe. Hello. I hope you watch
you're
this.
watching. Yeah, we miss you so much. He was just very kind, very helpful. He wanted to help be part, and he was like always trying to find something for us to do, and very welcoming and just so fun.
That's what I remember.
Yeah.
He was everything I think a man should be.
Yeah.
He had such a sense of humor, but he had the most joyful spirit,
Yes.
and he was always so uplifting. And one of the things I remember about Jean-Philippe is he never said anything negative.
Yes. Yes.
So I
felt like he always had a really good perspective. If we were just talking about something, he would chime in, and it was the best perspective.
It was. It was. I mean, he had a good heart.
Yes.
And a spirit of hospitality.
Very much.
That was awesome. So yeah, we miss you. We've not been there in 3 years, I think now. Was it 3?
3 or 4.
Has it been 4 this year?
I think it's been 4 this year.
Okay. We need to go back.
Yeah, I know.
Actually.
Oh, yes.
So yeah, Jean-Philippe would be my, oh my gosh, I'll remember you forever kind of guy.
Yes.
And then of course Aggie was there.
Aggie
and Aggie's still there.
She's still there, and I feel like she was so consistent. So like every time we went,
Yes.
she was there. So there seems to be a lot of turnover in Haiti and so she was always the one that was always there. So I think I'll always remember her. I have her on Facebook.
I do too.
She seems to be doing well.
So Aggie, for those of you who wouldn't know Aggie, she is a missionary, and I think she was from Canada, wasn't she?
Yeah, she's from Canada.
Okay.
That's where her family lives.
She was from Canada, and she went there. She's still there, but she operates orphanages in Haiti, and so Aggie, we love you. We pray for you all the time, and would love to see you again. And thank you for all the work that you do.
Yeah.
That is so amazing. So, okay, let's add some things. Okay. So take that lid off, and now what we're going to add is the broth.
Okay.
And with the broth, and I'm going to look at this because I want to make for sure. We're adding the bone broth and the turmeric.
Okay.
And we're going to cook it for 5 minutes. So we got the bone broth in. Now, Taylor, the bone broth I make, well, you can make bone broth yourself by just taking the bones of like a chicken or beef bones or whatever, and you slow cook those, but it's a long process of slow cooking that. Now what I use, I order from Dr. Amy Meyer's website, and it is a bone broth collagen that's chicken flavored. And what's so good about this, it's really rich tasting. So we're gonna cook that about 5 minutes if you want to take a watch. And let's flip that up to about 7.5.
Okay.
So, but the bone broth collagen, now when I was telling you about this, you said collagen's really good for you. What do you know about collagen?
From what I understand, collagen is really good for hair, nails, your skin. And after that, I'm not really sure. So
Okay.
that's what I know.
So what I know, it's really good for the connective tissues in your body, your tendons and your ligaments and things like that, which makes sense because of your nails and your hair and your skin.
Yeah.
So that's really, really important. Now, something else that's super important for those of us who have anti-inflammatory disease or autoimmune disease is turmeric. And turmeric is simply from the turmeric root. And this recipe, you can either use fresh turmeric or powdered, and we use the powdered in it. But turmeric is well known with a lot of research to help with pain. And we know that when you have joints that are swelling, sometimes they will swell and get big, they'll get a little red and hot and inflamed. And so turmeric helps with that. So we cook with it. It has a pleasant taste to it. So that's why that's in there. Now, when that cooks for 5 minutes, we're going to add our final ingredients, and that is spiralized zucchini noodles. That takes place of your pasta noodles, and we're going to add chicken, and I've used roasted chicken. There's a recipe for herb roasted chicken in here. There's sometimes I'll grill extra chicken and I'll just dice that up and put that in. But we're going to add the noodles, the chicken, and salt and pepper to taste. So we'll let this continue to cook for about 5 minutes. Before we add this, we'll cook that about 3. So, being a nurse, being a mom, being a wife, how important has it been to you to, because not all women do all the cooking, because a lot of men cook these days.
Yeah.
But how important is it to you to raise Addie up eating healthy, and what do you think about that from a mother and a nurse perspective?
I have a lot to say about that.
Okay.
So when I became a nurse 6 years ago, I was a baby. I was not raised in a home that we ate very healthy. We ate a lot of fast food. My dad owned, and he still owns, like a mom and pop store, so they use a lot of grease, to French fries, chicken nuggets, all the things. So when I met Casey, Casey's family does try to eat really healthy. So Casey also has an autoimmune disease. And so I was kind of introduced to that healthy eating at that point. I still ate whatever I wanted, but really when I had Addie, who's my daughter, she's a year old, I really had a big perspective change in what I ate, because I feel like what I consume, it's going to come out. And I think that's with anything, spiritually or mentally and physically. If I don't feel my best, how can I be the best mom to her and the best wife to Casey? So we have he has an autoimmune disease. I am a nurse. I can see that eating is important in correlation to your health, but I just realized I had really bad eating habits. So I was really thankful to be introduced to the Faster Way to Fat Loss, because it really just changed my perspective of how I feel.
Yeah.
I feel better. And I have, of course, there is, when you feel better, you might lose some weight, maybe your hair is a little healthier and different things like that. But I really want Addie to make better choices than what I made. I want her to live a long time, and I think that is a correlation to eating healthy and living a long time. And so we have made some drastic changes, because we went from eating out at least a couple meals a day to maybe, once, twice a week. We don't eat out very often. I mean, Casey does, I think, for lunch for work, but he's out of town a lot. So it's really, I had a lot to say about that.
So we live in an area of southeast Kentucky, and there's a lot of people who are super unhealthy. And it's not just because they've just chosen to be unhealthy. It's a lot in the way they have been raised, but it's also, we live in an area that has a lot of poverty, and not everybody's had access to a lot of healthy, means to buy a lot of things.
Right.
Now, one thing that I'm finding, because I used to think it's too expensive to eat healthy, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
because literally my food costs have much lowered since I stopped eating out and I stopped eating foods that have been processed, prepackaged, and all of that. So the other thing is, I think when you start eating healthy and you start exercising, you just feel so much better.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I know you did a segment with us once before on the importance of water.
Yeah.
And drinking water, because we work with a lot of senior adults.
Yeah.
And so just talk a little bit about water intake.
Really quick, it's been 5 minutes. So
Let's add our stuff.
let's do that, yeah.
Okay. So she's going to add the spiralized zucchini noodles. And you don't want to cook these a long time, about 3 minutes. She's going to add the chicken and salt and pepper.
Okay. And we'll mix that together.
Mix that together. Oh, you're good.
Okay. And
What
it
do you
smells
have?
so good.
And looks wonderful.
It looks excellent. This is the best looking chicken noodle soup I've looked at in a long time. This is great.
We put a little extra noodles
We did, yeah.
more than it called for in our recipe, but just because we like noodles, I guess.
Yes.
And so,
Okay.
so cover that, and we're gonna let that cook about 3 more minutes.
Okay. All right.
Okay. And so, just briefly, let's talk about why it's important for people with autoimmune disease and senior adults, especially, to drink water.
Well, so with drinking water, since we're in IGOT Communities, this is for what age group do you consider IGOT Communities?
55 and older.
Okay. I don't know if you all have noticed this or not, but when you tend to get older, you tend to not realize, I'm thirsty. That is just part of that as you get older. And so my grandparents, they are really bad about not drinking water all day long. You are really at risk when you don't drink enough water. Urinary tract infections, I think, are very common. There's all kinds of other illnesses, but so when you drink water, of course, you're helping your body get rid of waste. That's really important. You're, of course, keeping yourself hydrated. Of course, with dehydration, if you become dehydrated, you can be hospitalized very quickly. Of course, we've talked about a UTI. You can get hospitalized very quickly with that. I'm trying to think of what else that was. When you drink water, of course, that helps regulate your blood pressure. So if you have lower blood pressure, of course, if you drink a ton of water, that's going to increase it. If you drink a lot of water, it can actually help decrease your blood pressure, which is really interesting, but it can.
Yeah. So something else, and this is not vanity, but it's true. As you get older, your skin begins to lose the elasticity.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is if you get dehydrated or you're not drinking water, you're going to get a lot more wrinkled. And we don't want to be wrinkled.
No.
So, you know, that's one thing that keeps me a little more motivated to drink water, because I know that if I don't, it's not going to be good.
Yeah.
For my complexion.
And you're just going to feel really bad.
Yeah.
If you're going to feel really fatigued, you're not going to have, you're going to lose motivation to do things.
Yeah.
I think it's more than that. It's really important to make sure you're drinking. And if when you get older, it's just good to sip. A lot of people just sip all day long, and that is completely fine to sip. For me, I chug waters, and but if you are sipping, if you're a sipper, I would suggest you at least sip every 15 to 30 minutes of water. And of course, for me, my goal, I would love to drink 80 ounces of water a day. That's definitely on the higher side, but we always suggest 64 ounces. If you can get 60 to 64 ounces, that's what I would highly suggest everybody to drink.
So I've heard a lot of times that it's good to drink half your weight in water.
Yeah. That's another way. Take your weight, divide it by 2. Yeah. That's how many ounces you should be drinking. Yeah. So it's really important to drink water. Really important.
Well, let me tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to get some bowls out of here. And has it been 3 minutes?
1 more minute.
1 more minute.
Yep.
Okay. So for 1 minute, I'm I know that you and I go back in a lot of conversation, and that one thing that we have in common is our faith relationship.
Yeah.
And so I talk when I'm cooking a lot of times about the importance of your physical health, your mental health, and your spiritual health,
Yes.
and how important it is to keep a balance with all three, because
Yeah.
you know, you can have a great physical health and great mental health, but if you're lacking in your spiritual health, it's going to affect the other two. Likewise, you can have great spiritual health and great mental health,
Yeah.
actually, or feel like you do, but if you're lacking in physical health, and I know this from my own self, then it's affecting the other two.
Absolutely.
So, talk a little bit about what you do to keep your spiritual health well.
Yeah, so especially since I've had Addie, so I stay home with my daughter, and every day I try to do a devotional, and I try to read. Right now I'm in Psalms, so I've started at the beginning of Psalms, and I'll read just until I just get tired of it, and then I also started in the New Testament, so I'm doing Psalms and the New Testament. And I love to go outside. So I'll take a blanket, especially since it's cold, and I sit. And so this is Addie's nap time, so I use her nap time to do that. And I just read and I pray. And then also I think it's really important on the spiritual side to have community. I think community is so important. Having friendships who are like-minded, who will steer you and spur you on towards Jesus to be a better person, be a better version of yourself, to be more like Jesus and imitate him. So I really try to keep in contact with friends, and Debbie, we stay connected a lot over the years. How many years have we been friends? I don't even know.
No.
But that's something that I do. I really can tell. I don't know if you've experienced this, even through COVID. We really had a lack of seeing people.
Yeah.
And I could tell that really affected me mentally and spiritually, because I am an extrovert and I love to be around people, but I also think even if you're an introvert, my husband's an introvert, he loves to be around people. You have to have your friends, and life is better with friends. Pastor Trevor talks about that.
Absolutely.
Life is better with friends.
Absolutely.
So that's something that I do. And then of course the fast way to fat loss for the physical side of things. And I think, if you have a therapist to talk to, I think that's really important. Or just maybe even somebody who's older and wiser and is maybe farther along in life, and because eventually you're going to be that to somebody else,
Yeah.
So
Do you journal?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I have a journal. I have way too many. I love journals, so you should see my bookshelf, and they're not all like, I start in one, then I get another one, then I get another one, and they're not full. Do you journal?
I journal every day.
Yeah.
It's one thing that I do. I would say I do it for my emotional health and for my spiritual health.
Yeah.
Because I love to go back and things that I've journaled about spiritually and seeing where God's moved in those things. And so, I believe journaling's a great tool.
I think it's a good place to say, okay, this is where I was this time last year, and to see that God has moved so much within a year's time or whatever, just an example. So I think it's a really good monument, like a physical monument, to say, okay, this is what God's done for me, mentally.
Yeah. Okay, so
it's time.
It's time. It is time. So I'm going to scoop out. It's nice and hot.
It smells really good, guys.
So here is a bowl for you. And, okay, so everybody always wants to see a close-up of this.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this with the camera, but since you're here, I'm going to try to do
Okay.
this.
Yeah.
I'm usually doing these things by myself. Aha.
It looks so good.
There we go. There we go. So.
And it smells amazing.
All right. Well, Taylor.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for for being with us, and I hope you'll try this. A great recipe to share with friends and a great recipe to help you get well. So until I see you again, just keep living.